How's it, mother lovers? A quick video on chair leg joinery, one that's sublime for sculpting. In fact, I don't know of any other joint that lends itself to sculpting quite like this one. It's pretty much a housing joint, and a joint every woodworker should have in one's arsenal. There's two things you're definitely going to need for this joint now, and that's 2 router bits, possibly 3. Really depends on what route you choose, pun intended. Now these bits are from Whiteside. You could possibly find cheaper elsewhere, but I can tell you what now, these aren't cheap. The roundover one is £67.56 including VAT. The slotting bit is £32.68 including VAT, both 1/2 inch shanks. If you decide to go with any other bits, you've got to make sure that the slotting bit and the roundover curves are the same. You'll see why in a bit, but I've also left in here the size of the bearings on the top of them. There's a lot of ways to do this joint. You can do it on a table saw with a
big teeth you have. Better to eat you with, my dear.
Grooving blade, bandsaw, and you can hog out a lot of the waste so the router bit does less work, or a router table, or you can do a router bit freehand with a router jig. If you've got loads to do, loads to batch out, but it's by far the quickest to make a router jig and do it that way than the way I'm doing it. I can't stress this enough. Like all joinery, your stock needs to be absolutely square, otherwise it just gives you a headache further down the line. I usually mill the boards close to final dimensions and then leave them overnight at least to see what moving they're going to do. Unfortunately you can't see this, but the boards have moved about 1/2 mm out of square, and just before I need them I take them to final dimensions. I do this only because once or twice I've had occasions where I've milled boards and there's so much stress in the boards. I've milled them square, checked they're perfectly square, turned my back on them and all nice and warped. I generally don't trust anything that's been made imperial, especially when it comes to joinery, and the drawings of that bit said that cut should be 12.7 mm deep. I'll show you both joints, back and front, and how they're done. Back one's slightly different. With the legs and how they connect to the arms, you don't want the rear leg in line with the front leg, so you'd slightly have the front leg protruding from the wood. If you think about it, your arse isn't in line with your elbows, are they? When it comes to marking this out, obviously you need to be nice and square, but use a knife. I always use a knife, especially in hardwood, not so much in softwood. I find the compression factor of softwood works in my favour, so I often use a pencil. It's damn sight easier to see as well, a pencil line than a knife line. I'm getting to that point in life where I need some sort of extra goggles to go over my glasses to zoom in on knife lines. And now I can see where I went wrong. Rule of thumb when you're doing tenons, 1/3 of the board needs to be the tenon. Whenever doing anything like this, it's always good to have some crap stock lying about so you can do all your test cuts, get your height, your depth, get that all dialed in perfectly before you take it to the good piece. I would also suggest, say for your legs, I would always mill up 1 extra in case something goes wrong. There's nothing worse than getting through making a piece of furniture and then to find out I've got to go back through all that milling process again and let it rest overnight. I always account for 40% waste anyway when I'm doing this sort of stuff. That's worst case scenario. It's not hugely important you get this tongue exactly right, hence why I'm using a pencil, because when it comes to the leg you're going to be taking measurements from that tongue, not what you think they are, not what the ruler says, but that tongue. A quick tip here, when you're coming in to your good workpiece like this, you want to try and make sure your edge of the board is coming in parallel with the bearing. If the bearing slightly hits the outside of the wood and then comes around that corner, you're going to get a rounded corner, which is a problem. You'll have to saw that out and make the seat of the chair less wide. At the time I did think to myself, oh well, that's really not the end of the world. Just make that notch bigger, eh? Looks like that joint wants to teabag that blade. So be it. Check out the shakes in that wood, peeps. Normally I wouldn't use wood like that for this, but this is just for demonstrations purposes. I'm not actually making anything here. And there you have it. I didn't think of that. The bearing isn't in contact with that tongue, so that is game over. There's nothing you can do about that. There's certainly no way of coming back from it. So I swore a little bit and did it again. But not as tight as I'd like it. It's not bad though. The glue I finished that make that nice. If there was any glue. Stop blocks on the table saw. You've got to bear this in mind that fibres coming off of that wood as you turn them are going to move your piece of wood in and out to the cut of the blade, which is not good. Even though it's 1/2 mil, in this instance it's a bit of a problem. This is by far the best way of doing it. You've got to be on the ball with this joinery. As you can see here, that wood isn't properly supported. That throat plate's just a little bit too low, so it's tipping that piece of scrap. And this is why it needs to be perfect. See that little ridge there? That's going to show badly later on. There isn't any shame in it, I'm not going to lie. On top of that stop block I have written which way turns that screw in or brings it out clockwise. Anti-clockwise. As I said, I like it tight, but that's more like playing snooker with a bit of rope there. That's too much. It's the shakes that you can't see in wood that put me off the most, and then show up later. A bit like that one. I didn't see that one, but I should have seen that one. Again, use a scrap piece here. Check your pressure you're pushing down on that piece of wood. Depends on your router table too. If you've got one that's going to flex on you, that's not going to work out too well for you if you're putting all your weight on it. That round over does need to be perfect. You can feel it with your fingers that it's perfectly round. There's no immediate stop feeling in your finger. The other thing about this joint is how it clamps together, but I'll show you that a bit later on. Not bad, eh? was saying about getting that bearing on the router bit to come into parallel. See, that's exactly what's happened there. See that sort of shadow line? That's my corner rounded off. That's why I've got that gap there now. It's tight the rest of the joint, just on the corner there. I don't know about you, but I like a size 8 or a size 10 millimetre forstner bit for the dowels, because you will use dowels to plug this eventually. The nice part about this joint is it's going to get screwed together, so you can have that leg screwed to your base. That base is so much easier to clamp and position, so you can sculpt that leg to whatever shape you want. And then you can undo the screws, take the joint apart. You can carry on sculpting the leg without it in the seat and just put it all back together, screw them back together with glue, dowel it and zip them off. Use accent dowels if you like. I know the Americans love accents. And that's all she wrote. I hope that's of some help. Now go and have a go at it.